Greta walked into Reginald's room in the catacombs beneath the Chateau de Differdong, holding a pickle in one hand and a coffee cup filled with blood in the other. She stood in the doorway, watching Reginald with a sympathetic expression on her face, and then dunked the pickle as if it were a long green donut. It came out as red as a fat tube of lipstick. Carefully holding the pickle above the cup to catch errant drips, Greta took a bite. Her fangs were out. The pickle crunched. "I'm glad you're here, Greta," said Reginald. "Next to the things you eat, my Twinkies and microwave pizzas look downright normal." Greta looked down, rubbing the basketball-sized lump under the front of her shirt. "Klaus wants it," she said in a thick Zsa Zsa Gabor accent. "I don't even like pickles." As if in answer, a voice spoke up from under Greta's shirt. It wasn't a real voice, of course. Nobody could hear it other than Greta and Reginald, both of whom heard it telepathically. But still, in Reginald's head, the voice sounded real. Specifically, it sounded like Colonel Klink from Hogan's Heroes. Greta's belly said, "Reginald, let's watch some porn." Listening, Reginald felt himself transported back in time, television-wise. Klaus even had Colonel Klink's vocal inflections right. But then, before Reginald could answer, r.e. watching porn so that a 390-year-old vampire fetus could physically sample it, Greta slapped her stomach in admonition. "Klaus," she shouted, "what goes into you goes into me, and I am tired of your gross porn." The voice said, "I know nothing." But because Klaus's response didn't make sense and because he didn't understand how blood ties worked, Reginald wondered again whether he might be projecting personality onto the fetus that wasn't actually there. Maybe Klaus sounded entirely different to Greta. Maybe he fed her entirely different nostalgic catchphrases. Reginald wondered if imagining a German baby as sounding like Klink made him racist. Greta turned to Reginald. "I'm sorry, Reginald," she said. "He can be so immature sometimes." Reginald, who wondered how it would feel to spend 4 centuries floating in amniotic fluid while nursing a rather divergent sex addiction, said nothing. Greta walked to the side of Reginald's bed and eased herself into a chair. Her movements were slow and deliberate, but familiar. She'd forgotten what it was like to not be pregnant. Over the years, her vampire back had strengthened, and she no longer felt pains. She no longer remembered how to walk with a non-pregnant gait. Stumbling along and sitting awkwardly in chairs and dripping blood on her stomach because she couldn't get close to tables had become the norm. "You shouldn't just stay here and mope," said Greta. "You sit here and you eat and you watch movies on your computer. But this is no way for a vampire to live. You don't have to hunt with the others. We know you aren't a good hunter. But you can at least sit with us. You can join us in the cathedral room and socialize. You can be part of this family. Carl wants to hear what you have to say. We all do, especially now." Reginald rolled over to face the wall, away from Greta. "I'm in hiding," he grunted. "It's like mourning, except that you get to watch slapstick comedies." But now that he thought about it, watching those comedies wasn't always a get-to situation. Last night he'd watched Dumb and Dumber and had wished that it was still possible to die. "I understand. But, Reginald, you are being a pussy." Reginald turned to look at Greta. That had gotten his attention. They'd been at the chateau for almost 3 months. During that time, the European Vampire Council and the others living under the chateau had treated Reginald, Maurice, and Nikki like visiting dignitaries who'd just watched their families murdered. They'd been welcomed in, and then they'd been given as much time and space as they needed to recover from leaving everything behind in America. Nikki and Maurice took a week to mope, then donned their optimist hats and began making themselves at home, clubbing and dining on the locals. Reginald, by contrast, was still wearing his "why the hell should I bother" hat, and also his "fuck off, I'm eating" pajamas. "I'm sorry," said Reginald. "Is my presence in my own room distracting to you?"